folks, welcome to Maverick Gunworks channel. Have you ever thought about removing the front sight on your standard AR configuration? I have a gentleman here that wants to do away with his front sight, but he wants to keep the short handguard. So this one came with a plastic handguard that had no aluminum liner in it, just a plain plastic handguard, and that's not strong enough really to hold much of an accessory. If you want to put anything on it, he's considering putting a forward grip on it, and that's not going to do much for you when you just have nothing but plastic there. So we've opted to help him out a little bit here with some options. We're going to remove our front sight, put a low profile gas block on it, and then a drop-in aluminum handguard that will, somebody lay this sucker down here for a minute. So we've got our low profile gas block, we're going to be using that. I'll go over replacing the gas tube from here to this one, and then we're going to have a drop-in handguard. Okay, we'll show you how that works. We'll just kind of do a couple little snips of this work going on so that you can see what happens with it. But basically he'll be able to add accessories to this if he wants to. He's considering using a scope or red dot optic on it rather than the open sights. And if you choose to, you can still put an open sight on the front of your handguard here, and you know, you'll be able to fold it down if you don't need it. Okay, so here we go. Now I'll tell you what, some of these things, they are really crazy difficult to get the tapered pins out. If you don't realize it, the pins that hold this sight in are tapered, so make sure that you're going to knock them out. You drive them in the right direction, because if you start with the wrong direction, you're just going to make it worse. They're going to be harder and harder to get out. So we're going to knock these pins out. Hopefully they'll come out easily, so we can save this sight. He can use it in the future if he wants to. And we'll go back and put the other different components back on it. All right. So we're going to go over here and put our. I've already looked at this as far as how the size of the pins, how they're tapered. So I'm going to drive them out from this direction, and hopefully they'll come out easily. We'll see that one. Yeah, I cheated. I already had them started. I wanted to make sure I didn't waste a lot of time with the video. Well, we knew that would come out easy. And a lot of times they don't actually. So we end up having to put this in the milling machine and cut it off to get the pins out of it. But fortunately, we're able to save it this time. All right. And that being the case, now we can, tell you what, I'm going to put this in the vise so I can have a better control of it. Give me just a second here. I'm going to grab my block that will help hold this into the vise. All right. Snap it in just like that. Alrighty. Now you can tap. There we go. Okay, here. Alright. And alright, now we're loose, by golly. And we'll take our flash hider off, and okay. So obviously you got to take the flash hider off to get the gas block sight off of it. Slip this away here. And we have to use this end cap back on it to help support the new rail we're putting on. So you'll see that here shortly. We'll get to that point. Okay. So now we're going to remove our gas tube and put it into the new block. So y'all hang on a minute. We'll come back and show you what that looks like. We're taking the pin out of the gas block / sight that we're not going to use. can see if I can get this out of here. Good gracious. That's typical. They want to be stubborn because it's been fired. We don't know how much, but it has been fired and it's been heated and cooled and heated and cooled, and you've got carbon built up inside the tube. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge to get it out, looks like. Let me grab a pair of pliers and see if that'll help the situation. I prefer to use leather or some cloth or something here so we don't scar our tube. There we go. Just a little bit more than my bare fingers can handle. But there it goes. You can see a little carbon built up on it. It's not been used a whole lot, I can see that, but it does have a little bit of carbon on it. Okay. So now there's our sight we've taken off our gas block. We will save that for future use per the customer's orders. And we will now replace our tube into the new gas block. And paying attention, just one little quick footnote. I know you guys are familiar with this probably if you're watching this video, but you have to realize your gas tube has an offset in it so that it lines up when you come off the gas block up higher into your receiver. So make sure that you pay attention to the hole. This is your gas hole that faces the barrel. So there's not a hole on the other side like that. So this hole always faces the barrel when you put it into your gas block, because it will go in backwards if you're not paying attention. All right? You can't put it in upside down. Then you've got to take it back out and put it in anyway. That ain't cool. Alright, lay this down in my plastic block so I don't damage anything. And here again I'm using a starter to hold my roll pin, help get it back in place. And that goes there. And there's my roll pin punch. So the punch stays in the center of the pin. And now we have the roll pin right back where it belongs. Okay. Now we'll pursue putting this back on the barrel. Okay, what I figured out now is that we got to back up a pump just for a second. Our new gas block, rather than having the taper pins that cross drilled into it, we have set screws, and this one has 4 set screws, so it should be very stable once it's on there. But what I prefer to do myself, just for a little extra insurance, is I normally put a dimple in the barrel for each set screw on the bottom at least. That way you have a much more secure fastening to the barrel. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to push this down where it belongs, snug it up on a couple of screws, and take a couple of screws out. I have a guide that we're going to drill and dimple into the barrel where that right center point where that set screw goes. That way when we put it on permanently, you'll have a little bit of a pocket for the set screw to fit into, and I believe it'll be much more secure that way down the road. All right. So give us a few minutes and I'll work on that operation. Okay, y'all, I've got the gas block lined up. I've got one set screw anchored to the barrel so it don't move on me, and have my pilot screw here already drilled in, or set in rather. And this screw is drilled out in our lathe, so it's drilled out through the center, and I'm going to use the number 30 drill bit to put a little pocket in here. But the number 30 drill bit is 128 thousandths diameter, so it's slightly larger than a 1/8, but that gives us a little bit of a pocket for the head of the or tip of the set screw to fit into. And it won't take a whole lot, but we'll put a little dimple in here. There we go. You can see our metal shavings coming out of it. So I've got a good sharp drill bit here. Get that good that way. Take this pilot drill out, pilot screw rather. Let's say be it screw stick in there. And yes, I have a good pocket on it. So we'll stick this set screw back in the hole so it's recessed. That's solid now. We'll take the other one out, and that way it don't move between drilling the hole out. Okay? So now we'll stick our pilot screw back in, drill another hole, and we'll be ready to lock her down. All right. There we're good. Now, I'm not going to bore y'all with this detail, but I want to take the set screws back out and clean the holes with some solvent, probably denatured alcohol, to get all the oil out of it. Clean the threads so that when we put our Loctite thread locker back on it, that it will adhere better. When you have an oily surface like that, it don't do as good of a job as if you would clean the threads out, make it a lot better. Down the road, it will stay there like it should be. So let me do that and we'll come back and finish it up. Okay, we've got our gas block tightened down now with 4 screws. 2 of them have dimples in the barrel to help lock them down. I put a dab of called blue Loctite. This is our 248 thread locker, medium strength thread locker. So it does a really good job without a permanent being thread locker where you have to use a daggone torch to get it off. And if I was you, I wouldn't use that red permanent Loctite on anything on a firearm unless it's maybe a muzzle device that you never intend on taking off, because you'll end up with a whole lot more trouble than it's worth. As far as if you have to take the gun apart to work on it, you'll maybe end up damaging the firearm. Maybe having to drill out a screw, mill out something to get it apart. If you use a red permanent Loctite on little small screws especially, it is permanent and it's a very high temperature product, so you have to heat it with a torch to get it to come loose. But that's your choice. And we've got our rail slipped on here. All this thing does is takes the place of your plastic rail, where you pull your delta ring backwards, slip in the top, slip in the bottom, and it'll kind of snap into place. You got a ridge inside on this particular model where it fits right up against our front plate, so that it fits very solidly. I've got my screws snug down pretty good now, and now I'm going to slip on my mag pole flip up front sight. And these can be a bit challenging sometimes. They fit really tight, and that's just we'll get on there. We'll push it back to where I have my first slot and put the screw on it, and that should be there from now on. All right, and let's get a little screwdriver bit here to fix that somewhat. All right. And I'd like to put the front sight again as far away as you can from the rear sight, so you have a longer sighting plane. So now we have flip up sights on the front and the back, and it has a rail with a Picatinny sections on 4 sides, so you can add other accessories if you want to. And I think this gentleman may end up actually putting a forward grip on here somewhere at some point. So anyway, there you go. We'll snug down our muzzle device here, but that's what it looks like. We changed it from a plastic 4N to an aluminum 4N with quad rails on it, and it gives you more options on being able to attach accessories and then be solid rather than onto the plastic handguard that was there before. So anyway, if I can help you with something that Maverick Gun Works, give us a call, guys. Thanks for watching.